Welcome, Greek U Nations, episode number 470 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Ayalon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and an author. Our fifth book just came out. It's called Perseverance and How to Be a Great Fraternity or Sorority Alumnus. So go and pick up that book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring fraternity and sorority students together. Fun fact, I just got back from a keynote presentation at Lambda Theta Phi Latin Fraternities Convention in Dallas, Texas. And I noticed in doing all my research before going for this presentation that 28% of Latino adults had an associate's degree or higher versus 48% of white adults. Also, the two-year graduation rate is only 33% for Latino students versus 38% for white students. Also, the four-year graduation rate is 52% for Latino students versus 65% for white students. So in essence, fraternities and sororities for, it could be the Divine Nine, historically Black fraternities and sororities, the Latino fraternities and sororities, the Asian fraternities and sororities, all of these organizations are all filling a critical need that higher education today really struggles with, which is getting historically marginalized students all the way through to college graduation. So I'm so thankful that I get to work with all of these organizations in order to address this critical issue. And we are going to talk to our next guest about this very topic. Courtland Mitchell is the Director of Nutritional Services for the Department of Aging and Community Living in Washington, D.C. He's a very proud graduate of Howard University, and he takes great pride and pleasure in advocating and serving communities that have been historically marginalized, forging innovative partnerships, and developing effective strategies and policies. Courtland is committed to building healthier learning communities for everyone. Welcome to the show, Courtland.
Michael, how are you today?
I am doing well. I am so grateful that you are joining us on the podcast today because I think you can really shed some light on a lot of these issues that are facing higher education today. And I think it all kind of goes back to where you started. You decided on Howard University for your undergraduate experience, and you could have chosen many different colleges to attend. I'm wondering, why was Howard your choice?
Well, first of all, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Michael, for having me today. But to answer your question, Howard University, there's no other institution like it. I just have to say that I am a Howard Bison to the day I die. But Howard University, it always goes back to exposure. So I was exposed to Howard University on several occasions or several ways. First, I had a cousin at a family reunion. So he had just came back from Africa and he was traveling and having an amazing time. And he was just a really cool individual. He was from up north, I was from down south. And he was just telling me about his experience at Howard University. He was in the Howard University Divinity program. And he was just sharing with the family as he was etching his name into a bathroom stall to commemorate his experience at Howard University. That he just had never experienced an environment with so much love and compassion, and just it being an HBCU, although it's predominantly African American, it's not monolithic. It was so many different backgrounds and cultures of the Black experience that it was just an amazing experience for him. And then on top of that, during the same time, I heard a rap song, and it was a Ludacris and Bobby Valentino song, and there was one line in the song that said, "Never missing a homecoming at Howard." So from this experience and then hearing a rap song, I'm like, so they have a cool academic program, a great alumni, as well as they are in rap songs. Let me kind of check this out. This seems like this may be a winner. So from there and kind of watching a show also called Baldwin Hills, one of the students was attending that school, and again, coming from a small town, just being exposed by those different ways, it really helped me. It shaped me to form my opinion on Howard University and to apply. Man, never regretted it since that day.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Certainly the right place. It all worked out very well for you. And I could see how like it definitely infiltrates pop culture, long family histories. You're talking about generations and generations of people who have gone there, and that is the only option. I mean, it is Howard or it is nothing.
It's
Like,
how it's how
I know the
it's
alumni of Howard. I mean, they are loyal. I mean, when I say loyal, you have no idea what loyalty
we
means until you meet a
we
Howard.
are we are. It's Howard to the day I die.
Yeah, you see, like there's not a lot of people that feel that passionate about their alma mater. And anytime you talk to somebody from Howard, it's the same thing. It's like it's
So
either this or it's nothing. That's it. And it's like, and my kids and their kids, and it's like it's a
it's
whole thing.
it's everyone, all of my family, everyone coming after me. It's always going to be Howard. So
Yeah.
I'm very biased. I do.
I love it. I love the passion. And of course, you joined a fraternity at Howard University as well. Which organization did you join, and what made you want to join them over the other organizations on campus?
So I am a proud member of Phi Beta Sigma Incorporated. Um, Ironically, I can say I did not choose Phi Beta Sigma. Phi Beta Sigma chose me, and I am so thankful for them to allow me into their amazing organization. I actually chose to enter into Phi Beta Sigma in their graduate chapter as opposed to undergrad. Unfortunately, I did not come from a college background, so I did not know much about Greek life. I was barely just, I made it into Howard University, so thank God for that. But I did not know the rest of the culture that actually came with it.
Mhm.
So I graduated, and at that point, I was kind of okay. Like I didn't think that I would ever join a fraternity, but just kind of networking here in Washington D.C., and I came across some great people. And one of my closest mentors, he is a Phi Beta Sigma man through and through. If you meet him, he's going to tell you about it. And if he see anything in you, he's going to recruit you.
Mhm.
So he just showed me so many examples of why I should. And I've seen many other organizations, and I'm friends with many other people who are affiliated or part of other organizations. But he was just able to be a great mentor and a close friend and show me hands-on what a professional man should be. In this experience, he was able to grow my network through Phi Beta Sigma. Um, he was also able to for career advancements and just help me along and just really give me principles and values of what a real professional man should be. So with that being said, he just really he really just showed me the light, I would say,
Mhm.
of Phi Beta Sigma. And he really, really, really had a huge impact. And he really stood on the values of what a fraternity is actually supposed to be. It's great, in undergrad, you're able to kind of get into parties and you're able to and have the entire experience, which is amazing. I know, I wish I could have had that experience because of my experience, but I am now reaping the benefits of a fraternity or just an amazing organization, whichever way you decide to go. But I like to think that I am a part of the one of the best fraternities ever.
Yeah, Sigma is just an incredible organization. Shout out to Dr. Rafael Matos, who works for their headquarters, another really great brother of Sigma, who's been a loyal friend over the years. And, listen, I love that you joined as a grad chapter too. I think, we don't talk about that enough. And certainly within the traditionally white fraternities and sororities, very rarely do you see alumni initiations like that. And I think that's a missed opportunity, to be honest with you. Like, so what if you didn't join a fraternity or sorority when you're an undergrad? Like, who cares? Like, what's
Right.
preventing more people from having that fraternity or sorority experience? They should, if they want to be a member and they live the values of the organization, to your
For
point,
sure.
then they are a member as far as my eyes go. And so
For
why
sure.
not join? Why not learn the history? Why not be connected to that huge network that you have at Sigma in order to move your career forward and maybe to mentor other undergraduate students? I mean, there's nothing better than that. So why not offer those opportunities? And I think just now, I mean, I'm finally starting to see some of the traditionally white fraternities and sororities coming around to this idea, but it's taken them a long time to figure it out. I think they do a much better job of that lifetime membership and the grad chapters in the NPHC or Divine Nine organizations.
It's never too late. I'll say that.
Yeah, I agree. It really is never too late. So I'm so glad that you have that opportunity now. And now you're the Director of Nutritional Services for the Department of Aging and Community Living in Washington, D.C. Tell our audience, what do you do in that role?
Wow. So I am blessed to have the opportunity to fight food insecurity and social isolation with our aging population here in Washington, D.C. in all wards 1 through 8. Again, my job is to ensure that any senior who is 60 years and older is a resident here in Washington, D.C., and able to fill out an intake form and answer a couple of questions. We will make sure that we provide you a meal as well as a safe haven and a community to actually get out and to be around your peers while you're aging. It is such a enjoyable job, such a rewarding job. I'm able to get out and meet many seniors and actually just share stories, and they share stories with me and pour into me. So just to ensure that everyone has the basic necessities of food and just peer to peer networking. It's such a blessing. It's such a rewarding job.
Hmm. I love it. I obviously that certainly aligns with your values. So I see why, you're taking that job and you're really passionate about doing that work. It's important work. And so I love it. And I sense this great pride and pleasure that you have in advocating and serving for communities that have been historically marginalized. Some of the numbers that I've been reading in my research are just, I mean, they're concerning, to say the least. A lot of low income students in the United States are being left behind. If we look at low income high school seniors, only 38% of them go straight to college, as compared to 81% of their peers that are in that highest income quartile. And then once they're enrolled in college, a lot of these low income students, they earn bachelor's degrees at a rate that is less than half of the high income peers. So, how do we increase the retention rates and the graduation rates for college students who do come from disadvantaged backgrounds?
Wow, so that's a great question. Let me just tell a little bit about myself. So I come from North Carolina, very small town, Rocky Ford, North Carolina, where I had one stop sign, I had a soybean patch in the back of my house, and I had a dumpster. Like that's really all that kind of stood in my in my hometown. So it's really, really, really about exposure. Where I come from, I knew I wanted more than what my surroundings offered. And I think until we are able to expose all and put everyone on a playing level, that's where we come into the most challenges. I think the biggest thing, what would have really helped me as a high school student matriculating into college, is helping me understand college culture, helping me understand it's great to get into college, but we also have to get you through college. So there's some things that you just simply need to know. From my guidance counselor, just knowing FAFSA, understanding the financial aid process. Everyone is not blessed to have family members or parents who's able to help them with their FAFSA. Unfortunately, that was a taking in high school that I had to complete on my own. Again, I think it made me stronger, especially when I was able to get into college. But to have that and to have that backing from someone to help you to do it and to make sure that you have the scholarship and the proper funding when you're in school, that's super important. I think also if our high schools are able to bridge the gap, I think there's a huge learning curve for some, especially disadvantaged students, to actually enter into college. And I think maybe we should look into that to see if we can minimize that. We want to make sure that when you're in college, you have a support system. And for example, the registrar's office. Honestly, when I first got there, what is that term? Like, let's kind of make sure that even simple terms, simple things, you just simply don't know what you don't know until you're faced in those situations and circumstances. So making sure that the teachers of the high schools or the guidance counselors, they are teaching college culture to our students and making sure that they are in the know. Also making sure that we start to create our own villages in high school as opposed to waiting until you're into college to start your village. I mean, it's super important to lean onto your guidance counselor. Hey, I'm going here, but when I get into college, am I able to just call and maybe ask a couple of questions if you don't have that support or that backing from your parents? And also just making sure that our programs, one thing I can say there are certain programs in my hometown now, early college, where they actually push students to be more the situations or the scenarios nowadays, they actually call the students or the teachers professors as opposed to teachers. So they really put a lot of the responsibility on the students to reach out to the professor to say, hey, am I missing assignments? Or if you miss this many days of this class, we have to drop you. So I think just making sure that our curriculum or our educational system is looking into making sure that our students are prepared for college and making sure that our colleges are also prepared for students, making sure that we have college ready students or college ready courses or colleges. I think that's super important.
hmm You bring up some really good points in terms of the counseling center and the guidance counselors, for example, in high schools. I think the big issue is a lot of these guidance counselors. I mean, they've really been gutted in terms of the number of guidance counselors these high schools have for the hundreds, if not thousands, of students that they are advising. So realistically, I mean, if you look at it on paper, are they really going to be able to meet with every student? Probably not. Like, I'm
That's
just
very
being
true.
real with you. Like, I think they're overworked. I think that they have way too many students that they're responsible for that they can't possibly. I mean, no human on earth, okay, can possibly meet with every single student given the ratios of guidance counselors to students in high school. I just don't think that it's happening. I think it's a question of budget and finances that they don't have to hire more guidance counselors to do what it is that you're asking. And so I think that's the big issue. I think over time, when I was in high school, I think we had a lot more guidance counselors, and I think they
Mhm.
really did take the time to meet with every single student. I just think today, I mean, if anybody knows what's going on in the high schools right now, I think you'll see that the ratio is just ridiculous, like to the point where it's not possible. And I think that there's a lot of other students that are kind of in your shoes that they don't have those support teams coming out of high school. And then they get to college and they're like, I don't know what the registrar's office is. I don't know what
Right.
that is. Like, you know what I mean? So I think it's a question of resources that we're just not giving the students the resources they need to develop the understandings that they need to be successful in college. So,
No, it's very true. Even and to even have guidance counselors that care. Unfortunately, um, I actually had to fight against my guidance counselor for applying to Howard University. I
wow.
had a guidance counselor actually tell me, "Hey, I don't think this is going to work." So you also face those challenges as well.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Listen, I think also the quality of the guidance counselors are like kind of all over the map. So that's certainly a part of it. Understanding the student and exactly what kind of experience they want to get out of college, I think is important. And just having them educated about all the different options that are available, like HBCUs, for example, that could be a really good place for a student where they would be successful. So I think knowing the student is important. But overall, I'd say most of the guidance counselors that I meet are on the whole, they're all very good. I mean, of course, there's a couple of exceptions out there, but I just think there's just not enough of them, and I think that's the big problem our society faces today. So that's something that's going to be ongoing. I did want to talk to you about some of the other challenges. I mean, you talked about food insecurity and hunger, but I think there's a lot of other challenges outside of the classroom that affect the success of disadvantaged students. So it could be housing, it could be hunger that you deal with, it could be transportation to school, it could be affording those textbooks because they're extremely expensive. So, what are some of the resources that are available to help students with all of these issues?
So no, again, another great question. I think you don't know what you don't know.
Hmm
And I think making sure that you understand college culture, I think that's super important. Like you need to understand the purpose of your financial aid building. You also need to understand the purpose of scholarships and grants and where you can get those from. Work study programs, that's important. Maybe a Pell Grant. Maybe you actually need that work study program to not only put money in your pocket, but to also network. This is where internships and career opportunities come from. Counseling and service support. I know coming from different backgrounds where maybe you come from a poverty stricken area or you just come from a lot of trauma, people don't understand when you apply for college, one thing that you're actually paying for is therapy. you actually have a counselor there that is on campus that you are able to utilize. And I think that is so important. Not only do you have to go and learn your lessons, but you also have to carry the baggage from your childhood. So this is a great time to actually throw off some of that baggage that may stop you from able to participate or to focus in class. For example, at Howard University, just networking, I was able to talk to the people in financial aid, and making that connection, I found out that they were from North Carolina. And I also found out that we did not have a North Carolina club. So at Howard University, every state has a state club, and that is to help incoming freshmen just matriculate and get used to the campus. So because of that, I was able to actually create the North Carolina State Club at Howard University, and that afforded me the opportunity of a scholarship. So again, I did not come from a lot of money, but just networking and actually knowing different things. Peer-to-peer networking is super important.
Mhm.
Howard University have a big latex club, which is LA, or excuse me, with Louisiana and Texas. They come together. So just looking at that, my roommate was a part of that program. So hey, North Carolina, we don't have one of those. So just simply talking to them, that got me a scholarship, and that also helped other students from North Carolina matriculate through Howard University as well. So just simply knowing the resources that are out there. So talking to your guidance counselor, reading the college website, or just simply asking community leaders or the alumni. Super important to make sure that you know those things.
I like it. Now, you talked a little bit about networking there before. You were talking about building that support team while you're in high school. I feel like students really go to other students, other kids their age for advice. And I think that's a missed opportunity because there's a lot of older alumni like you're talking about at Howard and, other people who have been there and have done that in their careers that they can help to mentor some of these high school students to get them where they want to go. So where can today's high school students or even college students, where can they go in order to find mentorship for college?
Yeah. So as a college student, some of the first places that you're able to look to, talk to your RAs, talk to your resident assistants, talk to your hall directors, talk to your graduate hall directors.
Mhm.
These people are there. They are here living with you. And maybe they are a year or two or three older than you. So they kind of seen some of the things that you're going through. So your RA may be a senior and you're a freshman. So they can kind of walk you through some of the pitfalls that they've had, or either connect you with someone who is able to handle this situation for you. Faculty members. So maybe you may be able to gravitate towards one of your teachers, and actually make sure that you really tap into all resources that you have. I remember Dr. Dixon. He was a great influence on me, my biology teacher. One of the smartest guys I've ever met in my entire life. But also one of the coolest people that I've ever met in my entire life. And we just hit it off my first day. I would go to his office hours. So making sure that, again, when you first, as a disadvantaged student, you do not have the opportunity or the luxury to kind of be quiet. The responsibility on you is when you get on campus, I need you to say, hey, look at me. This is me. All eyes on me. And you have to make your experience what you need it to be. So you have to get out and network. Also use peer to peer. So those friends that you have, they may have come from a more affluent background, or they may have more connections. Their parents may be legacy. They may be legacy. Their parents may have come here, so they may be able to give you some more information about the school and just help you along your process. Also, make sure that you are reaching out to your career services coaches and graduate coaches. Schools actually do have those, so they can actually help you with your studies, and they can help you with just navigating some of those issues that you may have. Also, last but not least, definitely organizations. Phi Beta Sigma. Although I wasn't a part at that time, I still knew fraternity members. So just making sure that you are active on campus, it's going to position you to where you're able to meet more people, make more connections, and take care of issues that you may have.
hmm Yeah, I love that answer. I think that's really good. Recently, I've been thinking about belonging and how a student feels that way to a particular campus. I mean, let's assume for a second, you were going to a PWI instead of an HBCU, right? in order for you to feel like you belong here on this campus, you need to see with your eyes that there are people who look like you
Yes.
on campus. I'm talking about faculty, I'm talking about staff, the administration, professors, all of those things. So, how can we achieve diversity across all levels of an institution so that way students can see themselves represented on the campus that they're on?
Well, first and foremost, we need commitment from leadership. It all starts at leadership. Leadership have to be on board with making sure that representation is there for all and for any. Um, the beautiful thing about college is also you have the opportunity. We have historically Black colleges, HBCUs, but we also have PWIs. So the responsibility that I will put on the student is, hey, I may come from a small town, or I may not have the financial backing that may allow me to go to NYU. So making sure that you actually choose those schools that actually can help you be the best student is very important. So maybe not going to a large school, but actually staying at a smaller school. But also making sure that those schools, when you're looking at a school, making sure that the leadership is committed to diversity, but also making sure that they support diverse faculty. So you want to make sure that even at a PWI or HBCU, you want to make sure that look at what their faculty look like. Look at what their staff looks like. Not only do you want the more heads and the differences is what all brings us together, and is what's going to give you the best it's going to give you the best product. So you want to make sure, even if they're HBCU, you want to make sure that the diversity there, whether it's Caribbean, maybe Middle Eastern, the faculty, it reflects whatever direction that you're going to. I think that's super important. You want to make sure also the curriculum has different things that you are interested in, and can really speak to your experience in growing up. So I think those are some very important things that we should look at when it comes down to achieving diversity across all levels of institutions.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Obviously, a lot of that depends on the campus leadership, right? Hiring the right people and putting them in the right places on campus. What about the students? I mean, are there things that we can do to achieve an inclusive campus climate? Are there events and other things that we can put on to make it more inclusive?
Yeah, so making sure that we create safe spaces. Again, one thing at Howard University, I really commend them. If you know anything about Howard University, we have trees. So there is a tree for the Caribbean. There's a tree for for just different for the LGBT. So they all have these designated areas to ensure that you have a safe space at that school to achieve whatever you need, to make sure that you feel included. So Howard University, I can truly say they make sure that they cater to all. And you want to make sure that whatever school that you're picking, that school has whatever your interests are, and making sure that they have a vast options. You don't want to limit yourself at a school where they're only they're only giving to one particular demographic. Even if it's within a historically Black or a predominantly African American, you still want to make sure that whether it's LGBT, whether it's Caribbean, because Black it's not monolithic. It has so many different variations, backgrounds and cultures, even in an HBCU. So those are some things that you want to make sure that you look into.
I think that is really, really good suggestions. I like that a lot. Again, I kind of go back to the HBCU experience is going to be different than the PWI experience. If you are going to Howard University and your mom was an AKA and her mom was an AKA, and now you got President or Vice President Harris now running for president as an
Right,
AKA, I think
right,
there's going to be no problem in finding students at Howard
right,
University that want to be AKA. I think we
right,
both agree on that. Now,
right, right.
but let's change it. Now let's say we're going to a PWI. And
Okay,
now maybe you're a member of AKA or maybe you're a member of Sigma, right? And
okay,
you want to actually recruit a diverse array of students on this campus. But a lot of these students, many of them are first gen students. They don't have parents that were members of the Divine Nine. They don't even know what fraternities or sororities are. I'm just being real with you, right?
right, right.
So, what are some effective examples that you've seen in order to improve our outreach and recruitment of students where maybe they don't even know that we're an option?
So I think making sure that anytime you're meeting someone, you're actually meeting them. So for example, for me, I come from I'm a Black male with a first generation college experience.
Right.
So I make sure that when I'm talking to someone, although I have ascended to different heights, I still meet them with where I started. And I'm still able to actually reach out to those grassroots levels, or I'm still able to reach out to those bare minimum levels and actually talk to the students and see exactly what they need. Some examples that I've seen when it comes down to recruiting, Phi Beta Sigma, they do a great job with our national Beta Sigma Club, Sigma Beta Club, excuse me. And we're able to actually reach those even before college. We're able to actually reach those in elementary school and middle schools, as well as Kappa. They have the Kappa League. They have those where they mentor young men. So I think starting even it's great to reach them at the college level, and we throw different socials. So we'll have an ice cream party, or we'll have those. So, and again, when you have a fraternity or organization, you want to make sure that you are picking those who come from different backgrounds, and you're not picking the same person over and over again. So your outreach and your reach is able to extend to all people as opposed to just one particular person. But again, even reaching back to the younger groups, we want to make sure that Kappa League and the Sigma Beta Club, we're making sure that we're able to reach those young men or those young women, so we are able to shape their perspectives from a young age and give them, and hopefully and send them to a pipe, so we're able to actually get them to the college level.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. I think that's another area where I'd love to see the traditionally white fraternities and sororities do more work, which is mentoring younger students, whether they be in elementary school or junior high or high school, and then introduce them to what is fraternity and sorority life. So that way, when they get to college, they'll be like, oh, yeah, I worked with the Kappa when I was in high school, and he really helped me to, with my college applications or whatever. A lot of them will have, scholarships. So that way it helps to defray the costs of college tuition or books and other expenses. So I think, getting plugged in at a very early age can help introduce these concepts. So that way, when they get to college, they're like, oh, yeah, no big deal. Like, I know what this is all about and I'm looking forward to it. I think, especially with the large first gen population that we have on
Yeah.
college campuses today, I think this is more important than ever. I love that NPHC organizations really take the lead in doing that kind of work. And I'd love to see that spread to other councils. I think that's really, really important. Now, we do love good food here at the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. So, where should I be going for a great bite to eat these days in Washington, D.C.? Where do you go for some good food?
So my first love here in Washington, D.C., being on Howard University campus, it was something called Ho Chi. And if you go to Howard, if you're in Washington, D.C., Northwest, it's a Chinese spot. The aesthetic is not the best, but when I say the food is amazing, and they have some of the best mumbo sauce. I have ate there many, many nights and many, many times. Also, there are some places, some additional places, Jam Done. That's in Northeast Washington, D.C. They have the best oxtails. I have never tasted an oxtail, and again, I had never ate an oxtail until I came here
Yeah.
into to Washington D.C. Amazing. I also have a peer, a college friend who actually opened up a restaurant here in Washington D.C. He came from my class, and it's called Jerk at Night. Amazing food as well. And again, we're here in Washington, D.C. This is a big seafood. And if you know anything about blue crabs,
Mm.
it's a place called Rough and Ready Crab House. And they have the best blue crabs ever. So if you ever get a chance to stop at any of those locations, please, you'll really enjoy it.
I love it. I love eating crabs. I tell you, they're really, really good. I kind of grew up eating crabs over in Maryland, and we used to just fish them out and eat them, same day. And that was just a lot of
Really?
fun. Oh yeah, with the Old Bay seasoning and everything, it was
For
just
sure.
ridiculously good. The oxtail, I mean, I've been to Jamaica, so certainly that's something that I
For
had there, which
sure.
was fantastic. So yeah, also really, really good. And listen, those hole in the wall, Chinese spots. I mean,
Listen,
that's good. I mean, it might
can't beat
not
them.
look great from the outside, but all that matters is the plate of food that's in front of you. Forget about what it looks like. Doesn't matter.
No, sometimes you gotta close your eyes and just go in sometimes.
Just close
It's
your
crazy.
eyes and walk in the
Right.
door. Those are some great suggestions. I like that a lot. All right. So, if our student listeners, if they want to connect with you, maybe on social media, I mean, where should they go in order to connect with you? So that way, maybe you can start talking about some of these topics on their college campus.
For sure. So if you ever want to reach out to me, please reach out to me via LinkedIn, Courtland Mitchell. That is the best way, as well as if you want to send me an email, the best way to reach me is at Courtland, that's spelled Courtland at AOL.com. So two forms. So LinkedIn, Courtland Mitchell, and then also Courtland M09 at AOL.com. I know I probably the last person who's still using AOL. If it's not broke, do not fix it. I love AOL. I stand by it.
That's hilarious, man. I think you're the last one. You're the one who's keeping the lights on at AOL, man.
I am.
I think we're gonna have to work with you to get you on Gmail. But hey, listen, if it
Right.
works for you, that's cool by me. You're gonna get a flood of invitations on LinkedIn too, so that works. Courtland Mitchell, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for sharing all this great information with us today.
Thank you so much. Howard University. I love them.
Let's go. Let's go, Howard. If you enjoyed this conversation with Courtland Mitchell, I want you to like this on social media, share it with other college students that need to hear his words, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.